You're watching Cape Media News, brought to you by Cape Media Center.
Tonight on Cape Media News, new airline service at Gateway Airport.
Harwich Select Board disagrees on committee assignments.
And a look at the first week of spring playoffs.
These stories and more are coming up next on Cape Media News.
Good evening. It is May 31st, and welcome to Cape Media News, your source for hyperlocal news that matters. I'm Lauren Williamson.
And I'm Mitch Sock. Our top story tonight takes us to Harwich, where this week's Select Board meeting devolved into accusations and name-calling. The first item on the agenda was to approve the interview committee's recommendations for multiple committee vacancies. However, Select Board member Don Howell, who is half of the interview committee, had prepared remarks for voicing his frustration.
Before we go any further, Madam Chair, I have a question for the town administrator through you. This is not only the first time in 24 years that I've seen a TA make a committee appointments on the basis and on behalf of the interview committee, but as half of that interview committee and as the only board member who interviewed all three of the prospective golf committee candidates, I want to ask you, who asked you to prepare this recommendation on essentially my behalf?
I did.
Okay. This committee had 3 women out of 7 of this before the board blew it up. For as long as I can remember, that has never been the case. It has always been sort of a boys' club. As this is a municipal golf course and not a private club, we have an obligation to have a committee reflect the townspeople it serves. Over 55, excuse me, I still have the floor.
Just getting recognized, so excuse me.
Okay, so you can finish.
You're excused.
Okay.
So are you.
All right, like point of order here, so.
Okay, over 55% of the town is female. Try to rationalize the proposed action to the majority of the townspeople who are true stakeholders of the operation and paid for the golf course construction, not merely the golfing public. But again, in closing, you can't even act on this proposal tonight because it was posted wrong at a minimum, or perhaps was the result of a violation of the open meeting law if the other parties discussed this in private, because I was never part of this.
Don, I would ask you, being a long-term member of the Select Board, what happens when the interview committee doesn't agree with appointments? Where do they go from there?
It goes on the agenda as a non-recommendation. It was not recommended by the interview committee because you and I are the interview committee. I did not agree, and a 1-1 vote makes it a non-vote.
Don, as long as I've been here, when the interview committee doesn't agree, it goes on the agenda for a full debate. You've already had your debate, clearly with whomever you had your debate with. Your accusation about open meeting law violation is just more the same with you. You're blowhard, you're a political hack, and I'm not taking it. As far as
That's
I'm
from the
concerned,
non-bully on the board?
I have the floor. As far as I'm concerned, this debate belongs in this room. You just graciously said your opinion. I've got a lot of opinions about the bias that you just put out there, and many, many, many times in the past of what we should put on committees because of their gender. I can't wait to have this debate with you tonight, and I'll leave it at that. You can sit here and grandstand all you want, Don. You're factually wrong across the board. And now we can debate your gender bias.
Yeah, that from the non-bully.
All right, hold on. To that point, anytime interview committee members don't agree on who should be appointed, to Michael's point, it comes to this board.
It says on the agenda, and I quote, approve the committee recommendations from the Select Board Interview Committee. It does not say to discuss appointments. It was as if we had made a positive recommendation, Michael, and that did not happen. You didn't even talk to me about this. You went off and did it on your own.
This is where you pick and choose what you want the agenda to say. This is where you pick and choose how it goes. We don't have to take a positive action on this tonight if the majority of the 5 of us don't agree. So again, Don, this is you doing your blowhard routine that you did the last 5 times we've talked about golf because you don't agree.
You were chair when you knew that there was a problem on that committee that I inherited on that committee. And that had nothing to do with the current construct of them. It had everything to do with prior members. A couple of them were referred to the interview committee at that point in time. I had nothing to do with that. I was liaison for them for a year, and I tried to bring them out of that problem, not induce them into it. So I'm tired of you bullying me, so shut up.
All right, let's have some decorum here.
It's not just that it's agended. It's that my name was being used as if I was agreeing with it. But implicitly, it said it was a recommendation of the committee. I didn't make that, and you didn't even call me to say you were going to make it. So I really object to that, because as a committee structure, there's two people on it. And if both of them don't agree, then it has to come here for action to either appoint or not appoint. But don't use my name to imply that I had agreed to it, because it's agended as if the interview committee recommended it as a committee, and that's not true.
You and I have discussed this. We agreed not to agree. And we agreed that the conversation comes to the full board. This is the first time you have done what you did tonight related to the golf course and had your pre-made statement to attack myself and this board. First time done. As many years as we've served, first time. This has never been done before, and you and I did not agree from the beginning. And yes, in the beginning, you told me you thought there should be a balance of women and men on that board. I'm looking at it very differently than you are, clearly.
The agenda, the packet, you have all of that days before your meeting. And so I just want to put out there on behalf of staff, please don't hesitate to reach out to me so that I can address these alleged concerns or concerns and alleged allegations with them to assure them that whatever the board has gone through and whatever the comments made, it is not something that should rest on my staff. Because I will assure you, I have every expectation when I do my debrief in the morning that there are going to be great concerns by staff, given how the discussion went earlier tonight.
Barnstable District voters unanimously approved the design and engineering of a new fire station in Barnstable at the annual Fire District meeting earlier this month. Fire Chief Chris Beal, Project Manager Steve Rizzo, and members of the Fire Station Building Committee will be holding several public meetings in the upcoming months to educate residents on the progress of the project and to solicit input regarding the overall design of the new station.
The town of Barnstable is hosting a public meeting to help inform the creation of a Hyannis Harbor master plan. The town will present a draft of harbor land use recommendations based on feedback from their initial outreach meetings in December and input from stakeholders and a team of consultants. The meeting will be on June 11th at 6:30 p.m. at the 529 Main Street building in Hyannis, and pizza will be served. For more information on the Hyannis Harbor Master Plan, visit the Planning and Development page at townofbarnstable.us.
Barnstable Neighbor to Neighbor is looking for volunteers. This nonprofit is an all-volunteer organization that connects older residents needing assistance with their neighbors capable of fulfilling their requests. Members can request rides to appointments, errand runs, or help with household activities. After training, volunteers will receive a daily email of requested services which they can respond to based on availability. Visit barnstableneighbor.org to fill out a volunteer application.
The Massachusetts Breast Cancer Coalition will host the 25th annual Against the Tide event on June 8th at Nickerson State Park. This fundraising swim, walk, and run is suitable for all ages, and all proceeds support and expand programs that educate the community on reducing exposure to cancer-causing toxins. To learn more or to register for this event, visit mbcc.org.
Tomorrow, June 1st, marks the start of LGBTQ+ Pride Month, throughout which we will be sharing celebration events from all 5 Mid-Cape towns. First on the docket in Harwich is Wequassett Resort's second annual Out on the Bay. From 2 to 6 p.m. at the Outer Bar, support the Crown and Anchor's Prouder Together initiative, which this sip and shop event. This queer makers market will feature several LGBTQ-owned local businesses, including PFLAG, Anchor to Anchor, Roots and Rhythm, and more. With Provincetown Brewing Company on site with a selection of their most popular brews. This event will also feature performances from the stars from Cape Cod Playhouse's production of Tick Tick Boom. Proceeds from the event will benefit Cape Cod Playhouse. Happy Pride! Coming up after the break, a new way to travel to the Cape. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Mitch Sock.
And I'm Lauren Williamson. Exciting news for Cape Cod travelers, as American Airlines is set to provide more ways to escape to the Cape. A new service to New York's LaGuardia Airport begins next week on June 5th, and service to Washington starts later in the month on June 22nd.
American recently announced they're going to add service here for the first time at the Cape Cod Gateway Airport in Hyannis. They'll have 2 flights a day. They'll have 1 flight from here to LaGuardia in New York City and another to Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. So American is going to start on June 5th with their flight to LaGuardia, and then the flight to Washington will start on June 22nd. So the significance there is with American, they have a very large network across the world. So when passengers arrive to the airport here, they can board an American flight to either New York or Washington, and from there they could connect on another American flight within the American system to a variety of places around the world. It works both ways. For the year-round residents who live here, this is a new connection to obviously those cities and then places where they can connect on flights to other locations in the American network. And also for visitors and tourists, it's a new way in through the gateway here to Cape Cod.
Join the Gateway Airport on Wednesday, June 5th at 11:30 a.m. for the ribbon-cutting ceremony, where the airport will welcome its first American Airlines flight from New York City.
Earlier this week, a Harwich resident brought in a bag of old ammunition and explosives to the public safety complex to be disposed of. Harwich Police and Fire secured the items, and Massachusetts State Police Bomb Squad was notified and later destroyed the items via controlled detonation. While this matter was resolved safely, the Harwich Fire Department urges the public not to bring items like these to the safety complex. Old munitions can be unstable, and bringing them into the safety complex puts you and those at the station at risk. Notify the police first so they can come to your location and evaluate the situation safely. Stay safe.
The Chatham Council on Aging is celebrating its 50th year. An open house will be held on June 6th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Center for Active Living. Stop by to tour the building, learn about the COA's programs and services, connect with others, and celebrate 50 years of community care. Happy birthday, COA!
Starting July 1st, the Harwich Transfer Station will accept food scraps as part of an off-site composting program with Black Earth Composting. The new composting bins can accept food waste like eggs, meat, spoiled food, candy, cooking oils or grease, as well as household items like wood, wine corks, pet food, hair or fur, paper towels, and newspapers. Check out the full list of what can and can't be accepted at harwichhighway.com.
Saturday, June 8th, the Cape Cod Flying Circus and Chatham Municipal Airport will hold their annual open house from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're a history buff or just a fan of heavy machinery, check out the aircraft static display, working model railroad displays, antique cars and trucks, and historical military aircraft. Bring the kids for face painting, balloon animals, live music, and more.
Great white sharks have returned to Cape Cod. Massachusetts shark biologist John Chisholm reported seeing 2 white sharks off Monomoy Island last week, marking the first sightings of the season. Since then, there have been sightings off Loop Beach in Cotuit, Grey Neck Beach in Harwich, the National Seashore in Chatham, Race Point Beach in P-Town, and Mayo Beach in Wellfleet. The Atlantic White Shark Conservancy's Sharktivity app provides information and alerts regarding white shark sightings to raise awareness and foster coexistence between people and sharks. You can submit your sightings through the app, which are then verified by experts and added to the ongoing data collection to minimize encounters.
And lastly this evening, we send it to Ryan Downs with a recap of this week in sports.
Welcome back to the Cape Media News Sports segment. I'm your host and local sports guy, Ryan Downs. The brackets have been made and teams have their matchups set as the MIAA playoffs began this past Wednesday. We got a whole bunch of teams representing the Mid-Cape and even some home games, so let's get into it. Barnstable has 5 teams that made the cut and are guaranteed at least one more game. Their baseball team earned the only home game of the 5 teams. Coming in as the 13th ranked seed, they host the 20th seed Weymouth this Sunday at 3 p.m. The remaining 4 teams include Boys and Girls Lax, coming in at 24th and 30th. Their games will both take place next Monday the 3rd. And we wish the athletes good luck on boys tennis, ranked 28th, and volleyball, ranked 23rd, as they are currently playing. Their games were scheduled for 4:30 today. All of these teams will have their work cut out for them as they face opponents ranked 10 or lower. Volleyball especially, as they unfortunately have to face an undefeated New Bedford in the first round, a team that has already bested them twice this season. DUI had a real tough spring, but through it all, they had 2 teams emerge in the postseason. Both teams are also currently in play, so best of luck to them as well. The baseball team, owning a record of 10-12, is ranked 18th, and they have traveled to take on the 15th ranked Hamilton Wenham. And girls Lax, despite being ranked 28th with a record of 6-11, get to stay on Cape, as they only had to travel to Sandwich to take on the 5th ranked Lady Blue Knights. Monomoy has 6 teams in the playoffs and 3 games currently underway, as their baseball team, which came in ranked at 26th with a record of 11-9, is hosting 39th Cathedral. The 14th ranked girls Lax team is hosting number 19 Tingsboro, while the 22nd ranked boys Lax team is away at number 11 Abington. Both boys and girls tennis, number 10 and 13, hosted home matches on Wednesday the 29th versus Rockport. The boys won 4-1 and traveled to number 4 Hamilton Wenham on June 3rd, while the girls won 5-0 and will travel to number 7 Lenox Memorial to be determined. And somehow, the 19-1 softball team was ranked 22nd. I can't imagine losing one game all year and not hosting even a first-round playoff game. It's just truly unfortunate for them and a mistake on somebody's account. So they will have to travel to number 11 East Bridgewater this Sunday for an 11 a.m. start. Lastly, for Monomoy, the Sharks golf squad competed at the MIAA South Sectional last Tuesday at the Maplegate Golf Course. The team was led by senior captain Ava Packett, who qualified for the state final next Monday. The Sharks took home 6th place as a team. Nauset is staying put for now at least, as 3 out of their 4 playoff teams are hosting a first-round game. The boys tennis team, ranked 22nd, being the only team having to travel, is currently up at number 11 Wakefield. Number 16 baseball will play host to number 17 Newburyport tomorrow at 4 p.m. And shortly after that, the number 11 ranked girls Lax team hosts the number 22nd ranked St. Mary's. The boys Lax team, which finished ranked 5th, which gave them a first-round bye in the tournament, they find out their opponent later tonight, as the winner of the Old Rochester and St. John Paul II game will have to play them. And that's it for this week's Sports Update. Back to you, Lauren and Mitch.
Thank you for joining us this evening. If you have a story that you would like to see covered, send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org.
And tune in every week for more hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV.
Be sure to follow us on all of our social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. For Cape Media News, I'm Lauren Williamson.
And I'm Mitch Sock.